The battle had ended years ago. For many, it was a memory that faded like smoke through a shattered window, a tragedy recorded in star charts and military logs. But for Captain Adrian Cross, it was as vivid as the moment he had first seen her fall. It had been the siege of Carinth Prime, a world rich with mineral wealth and coveted by factions across 3 sectors. The sky had burned with the streaks of ion cannons and the light of crashing plasma bolts. Ships collided like meteors, exploding into brilliant clouds of debris. And amidst that chaos, a figure had shown, a being whose presence seemed to anchor the storm itself. She was the Queen of the Ilari, a species known across the galaxy for their beauty, intelligence, and ruthlessness in war. Her name, Queen Alindra. Adrian had been a human officer with the Alliance fleet, a veteran of countless skirmishes, but he had never faced anything like her. She fought at the front lines, leading her elite guards personally, directing fleets, and making split-second strategic decisions that saved her worlds and decimated her enemies. And during one fateful clash, her flagship had been critically hit, drifting on a collision course toward the surface of Carinth Prime. Adrian's squadron had arrived just in time. Against orders, against protocol, against reason, he had maneuvered into the blazing fire of enemy fighters and saved her. He remembered the moment she looked at him then, eyes wide with shock, lips parted slightly in disbelief, as if the very concept of a human saving a queen were impossible. He didn't know that, in that fleeting glance, a bond had been forged that neither of them fully understood until now. The message. Years later, Adrian Cross led a quiet life on the fringe world of Typhon Station. The Alliance had offered him commendations, medals, even a high-ranking command, but he had refused all honors. The galaxy had grown tiresome, its politics petty, its heroes fleeting. He preferred the quiet, the simplicity, the solitude, until the message arrived. It came via a secure, near untraceable channel. No header, no warning, no signature, except a single line. Do you recall the battle, human? Alindra. Adrian's hand froze above the console. Alindra, the queen, alive, and sending him a message. He read the line again, slowly, carefully. Then he read it aloud. She remembers, he whispered to himself. The galaxy was dangerous, treacherous, and unpredictable. Messages from an alien monarch were not trivial. They could be traps, tests, or declarations of war. Yet something in the phrasing, the word recall, was not a command. It was a question. Personal, intimate, journey to the unknown. Adrian prepared his ship. It was old, patched from countless missions, and hardly a vessel that could challenge a fleet, but it had one advantage. He knew it inside and out. He set course for the coordinates embedded in the message. Unknown territory. Beyond Alliance borders. Ilari space. As he traveled, he recalled the battle in full detail, the screams of engines tearing apart, the smell of ozone and plasma burning through the atmosphere, the Queen's ship breaking apart as he had forced it free from destruction. And her eyes. Those unyielding, violet-tinged eyes that had stared into his soul and questioned him. She had looked at him not as a human, not as an officer, but as a person. That glance had haunted him ever since. The arrival. Adrian emerged from hyperspace to a scene that made his chest tighten. A massive, crescent-shaped citadel floated in orbit around an uncharted gas giant. Its architecture was alive, organic, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent veins of energy. It was breathtaking, majestic, intimidating, and it was silent. Lovely, he muttered, and probably a death trap. The docking protocols were unusual, almost ritualistic. Sensors scanned him, doors opened as if expecting him, guiding him to an enormous chamber that dwarfed anything he had ever seen. And then finally she appeared, Queen Alindra. She was even more imposing than he remembered. Her armor was ceremonial, etched with filigree of unknown origin, glowing softly. Her hair floated slightly, unaffected by gravity, giving her an ethereal presence. Her eyes locked onto his the instant he stepped into the chamber. "Adrian Cross," she said, voice both commanding and gentle. "You came—" Yes, Your Majesty," he stammered, suddenly feeling every human insecurity he had ever had. Alindra's lips curved in a faint smile. "I was not certain you would." The conversation. They sat across from each other, a low table between them. There was no pretension in her demeanor, no courtly distance that one would expect from a monarch. She studied him as one studies a rare artifact, curious and cautious. "Why now?" Adrian asked. She tilted her head. "Because it is time." "For what?" "For truth. For reconciliation. For understanding." Adrian swallowed. The words were vague, cryptic, but there was urgency in them, a weight that pressed against him like gravity. "I thought the battle ended years ago," he said quietly. "It did," she said. "But consequences endure." Her eyes softened. "And debts remain unpaid." Adrian shifted in his seat. The memories surged, the explosion of her flagship, the helpless screams of her crew, the chaos of enemy fire, and how he had acted instinctively, without thought for protocol or personal safety. "You saved my life," Alindra said, finally. "And I never thanked you properly." Adrian waved a hand dismissively. "It's not necessary. Part of the job." "Part of the job?" she repeated, disbelief tinged with amusement. "You risked your life against impossible odds, in direct defiance of your chain of command, to save a queen of another species, and you call it duty?" He shrugged. "Someone had to do it. Otherwise, you'd be dead. And frankly, the galaxy doesn't owe me thanks." Alindra's gaze held his. "And yet, you're here. Now. The galaxy may not owe, but I do." "The test." The queen rose suddenly. She moved with a fluid grace, her presence commanding even without words. "You must understand, human, that the circumstances surrounding your actions then were not mere coincidence. You were chosen." "Chosen? By who?" Adrian asked, wary. "By fate. By will. By what you did instinctively. The lives you save, the choices you make, they matter more than you know." She gestured toward a massive viewport overlooking the gas giant. "This is my world, and many who wish it harm still linger beyond the edge of the system. You saved me once, and now I require your aid again." Adrian frowned. "You mean battle?" "Not exactly," she said. "A test of loyalty, of trust, of courage. Not against me, but alongside me. You understand risk. You understand duty. And most importantly, you understand me." He hesitated. Years had made him cautious, wary of entanglement with alien monarchs and interstellar politics. But looking into her eyes, he realized something profound. He had never felt this alive. "All right," he said finally. "I'm in." Alindra inclined her head. "Good. You may not understand fully yet, but you will." The threat revealed. The calm of the Citadel was broken hours later by alarms. Intruders. Vessels of unknown design had breached the outer perimeter. Autonomous war machines, relics of an ancient war, launched from hidden orbital platforms. Their intent was clear: eliminate the Queen, destabilize her sovereignty, and claim her worlds. Adrian moved quickly, following Alindra's orders. Together, they coordinated the Citadel's defenses, issuing commands and deploying countermeasures. The queen fought alongside him in the command center, her fingers dancing over holographic displays, issuing precise directives. He marveled at her composure, at her ability to strategize in real time. He remembered saving her life years ago, but now he was saving her worlds. Together. The battle was intense but coordinated. Explosions lit the void outside. Shields flared. Enemy vessels fell one by one. Through it all, Adrian and Alindra worked in tandem, instinctively anticipating each other's decisions. When the last threat was neutralized, the silence that followed was deafening. The moment between worlds. Alindra turned to him, expression softer than he had ever seen. "You have done well," she said. Adrian shook his head. "We did well." She approached, close enough that he could feel the subtle warmth radiating from her. "There is something I have never said," she whispered. "That day, on Carinth Prime, you saved more than my life. You saved hope. You saved a future I had begun to fear was impossible." I didn't think about that then," Adrian admitted. "Perhaps not, but it was true. And now, you stand here, again, proving that courage is not measured in ranks or medals, but in choices." The weight of her words pressed on him. Years of solitude, of running from responsibility, of trying to live unnoticed, melted away. He understood, at last, why he had been summoned. The decision. Alindra extended her hand. "The galaxy is uncertain." Adrian Cross. "Alliances are fragile, enemies persistent. I offer you a choice. Return to your quiet life, or stay and shape the future with me." He studied her, remembering all the battles, all the lives saved, all the moments that had brought him here. "I stay," he said finally. Her eyes softened, a smile breaking across her face. "Then let us face the stars together." Epilogue. A bond forged across time. Months later, the Alliance fleet would hear tales of the human who fought alongside the Queen of the Ilari. How he had saved not just her life, but her worlds, countless times. But Adrian knew the truth. It had never been about medals or recognition. It had been about trust, respect, courage, and, perhaps most importantly, understanding. For in the heart of the galaxy, amidst wars and chaos, two beings had found something rare and precious, a bond that transcended species, time, and fate itself. And every time Alindra looked at him, she asked the same unspoken question. "Do you recall the battle, human?" And every time he remembered.